Ever since I was a kid, I've been wanting to get out of my hometown and my home country. I wanted to get out there and see the world. And even though I'm doing it today in a completely different way than I thought when I was growing up, I'm so happy that I did. Because life is too short not to. And I did not get this far in life to stay in a place that doesn't make me happy. So now I am moving around between cities every few months, and I have found several places that feel like home. But also, I have found home in a whole new lifestyle, and I've found home in the lifestyle of being a digital nomad. And doing that and making the decision to go for it has been the best decision of my life. And if you feel like the digital nomad lifestyle is something that you want too, then this episode is for you, because we will talk about what it actually looks like behind the Instagram reels, but also talk about what you have to think about if you actually want to do it. So, welcome to Being a Lot podcast. My name is Ebba and I am your host. So, growing up, I thought that I wanted to move to a big city and really live that like New York life or whatever. But when I realized that I didn't want the office life, I wanted to run my own business. And when I did start running my own business, I realized that, hold on, I can take my work wherever. I can work from a beach if I want. I can work from the couch of if I want, or from a cute cafe. I can work from anywhere. And I think that is what made me fall in love with the idea of starting a digital nomad life. And it is honestly one of the best decisions I have made because it has made my life so much better and so much richer in so many ways. But the thing is, what I thought nomad life was and what it actually is kind of different. Because we see this like Instagram curated life, right? We see the working on the beach, maybe you see parties or traveling in exotic places. And even though that is very much a part of it, and you can live very different lives as a nomad depending on what kind of lifestyle you want. But what you see online is also Instagram. It is curated. And I am very much guilty of showing the good stuff, right? But what you see online, what you see on Instagram is not the whole truth. Yes, we can go on adventures. Yes, we can go on day trips, or we go to cute cafes, or we work on the beach. But it is so much more. And that is not it. Because the Instagram feed and real life is, of course, so very different. And I am a part of also posting the cute things because that's, of course, what we want to show. But the reality of being a nomad is very different. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here today because I think it's so easy to just glamorize it and also kind of think like, oh, I want to live that dream life and the people online living that life are so lucky. But first of all, you can do it. You can very much become a digital nomad if you want to, and we will get into that. But you also have to realize that it isn't all fun and games all the time, and it's not just being on the beach or whatever. And it is definitely like a lifestyle. This is being a nomad is not being on vacation, which I think is a very big misconception. People are like, oh, you're traveling all the time. But I don't see being a nomad as traveling. I see being a digital nomad as I move around between different places because essentially that is what it is. And honestly, people have so many different views of what a nomad life is. Like, if you are a digital nomad, you have to do X, Y, and Z. But there's so many different ways of living this life. Some people are actually traveling around. They are working online. I think that is what all nomads have in common, that we work online and we move or travel around. And some people think that you can't have a base. If you have a home base, you're not technically a nomad. But the thing is, you can live the nomad life however you want. There are no right or wrong ways to do it. Some people have a home base and then they spend 6 months away. Some people I met haven't been home for years. It is very, very different. So I want to share with you how it can look like. Because for me, I have gone from imagining that nomad life was going to be me traveling constantly and going to see new places all the time and just exploring things to being kind of the opposite, to be honest. Because when I went on my first nomad trip, I had a plan to go away for 3 months and I did. But in those 3 months, my plan was to go to like 4 different places or something. And it was an amazing trip and it was so great. But when I look back at it, and as it was my first nomad trip, it is so different than how I live my nomad life today. because I wasn't really a part of, my community. I was traveling with a friend, which makes it very different, to be honest. And I was kind of feeling like I was more traveling and working at the same time. But what I realized when I started living nomad life and when I had gone on a few trips was that the longer you stay in a place, the better it gets. And I think the longer you stay as a nomad, the more sustainable the lifestyle is. And of course, people will have different views on this. But for me, nomad life is not anymore about exploring and seeing the world all the time. For me, it is so much more about community, about meeting amazing people. It is about going and living and actually living in a city. Because now I go to different cities and I have essentially two cities that I have now moving in between for. I've been in both cities twice. And I actually go there and I feel like, oh, I actually live here. I get into a routine. I find the places I love. I find my favorite cafes. I find co-workings I like. I find my favorite coffee shops. I find the gym I want to go to. And you really get into a routine. And for me, that is what Nomad Life now is. It is me moving between different places and finding a home in different places. And that has been such an amazing thing because today I actually feel like I don't have just one home, which is like back home in Sweden where I grew up, but I feel more at home when I'm in Thailand or in Vietnam. And that is such an amazing feeling. But for me, it hasn't just been where I go or that I actually create a routine and create a life, but it's also so much about the people I meet along the way. And I have made some amazing friends on this journey of being a nomad. And that has definitely also affected how I travel, that I'm like, oh, my best friend is going here and we plan to go to different places together. And that was kind of something that was pretty unexpected of me when I started traveling solo, that I thought I would just do my own thing. And I didn't expect to meet such amazing people that I'm like, oh, you're going there. I actually want to make sure to keep this connection going, because it's easy to meet people as a nomad, but actually finding those real true connections, that is more rare. So when you actually find them, you definitely want to keep them and even change the way you travel for them. At least I have, because for me, that has been a priority right now. For me, my priority has been in places that I feel safe, where I can relax, where I can take care of myself, of my mental health, I can focus on work, and I can spend time with people that I truly enjoy being around and who are good for me, rather than exploring and traveling. And right now, that's the phase I'm in. But I'm sure I might come into an era later on where I want to explore more and see more. And then that will happen and that will probably be amazing. But that's not where I am right now. And I think this is important to know when you start your journey as a digital nomad, that there's no right or wrong way, and you have to find what works for you. Because you can do this in a way where you are traveling a lot and you are moving between places every few weeks. And I know people who do that and who love it. But you can also live a much slower life. And that's what I honestly see most nomads doing. Because what you can't forget is when you're a nomad and you're working light, you're actually working. And if you want to work and build your business when you are abroad and when you are a nomad, it is harder to actually travel constantly too. At least it is for me, because it takes so much more energy. And of course, it depends on what you're working with. But for me, having a place where I can feel like this is my base now, this is where I have my routines, my life, that has been so important for me. But when you start out as a nomad, maybe it will look different for you. And maybe you will have to travel around to find the places where you actually feel at home. My first times at different locations has been shorter, and then I've come back for a longer time the next time because I'm like, oh, this place is actually really cool. I want to go back. Because the thing is also that usually the places that are great to live as a digital nomad, it's not necessarily the places I would recommend anyone to go for vacation. Because when I started, I was thinking that I just wanted to go to cool places that I've been wanting to visit. Whereas now, one of my top priorities when I go to a new place is to actually see what the nomad community life, how can I live in this city, what are the cafes I can work at like. There's so many other things and aspects that I look for when I'm looking for the next nomad destination, rather than when I would be looking for a place to go for my next vacation. So that has definitely been a big mind shift. Mind shift? Is that what you say? Yeah. Whatever. That has definitely been a big shift in how I see things and what I've learned as a nomad, because nomad lifestyle is not the same thing as backpacking or traveler. It's much slower. It is more about living the routines and creating a life in different places, I would say. At least that's what it's been like for me and so many of my friends that I spend time with. Because the thing is, when you actually slow down and you live in a place for a longer time, you actually have time to explore it for real. You can find like the hidden gems and you can explore the area around and you can go on amazing day trips. But maybe that's something you go on once in a while. For me, I haven't done that too much because it is not where I'm at right now. I would go on day trips and explore things, but that is not my focus right now. And that is okay. But you can still do those things. But for me, those things are just a bonus right now rather than what I am looking for. And I think this is also a part of being a nomad, that in the beginning, it will look one way and you will explore and find a way that works for you. And then when you continue on, you will find kind of the groove that works for you, the pace that works for you, your favorite places, your favorite humans, and you will find something that works specifically for you. The thing about nomad life is that so many people look at it. Back home, when I tell people that I live this life, so many times I just get, oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky that you get to live like that. And yes, I am lucky. I am privileged in so many ways that I can do this and that I can live this life. But it is also a choice I made. It is not something that just fell into my lap. I made a choice to live this life. Because the thing is, yes, being a digital nomad is amazing to me. But it also means that I am away from friends and family for a long time. And it's hard to talk to them because of time difference. And you don't have the stability of having one place to go home to if that's what you want. For example, I don't have an apartment. When I go back home, I stay with my family. And for me, that works. And there are going to be sacrifices along the way. You can't have it both. And because when you do the digital nomad life, you're all going to be away from friends and family. You are not going to maybe have a base in the same way. You are going to feel split and torn between different places. You might not have the same safety as having a full-time job in an office back home. If you want to settle down and have kids and a family, then maybe trying to find that or creating that is not as easy when you're on the road. So there are some things that you have to consider, but if you want to live a nomad life, you can do it, but it's up to you to make that choice. Because every single nomad who is choosing this lifestyle are making an active decision to do it. Because a lot of times I meet people who are like, oh, you're so lucky, but they don't necessarily want to live the nomad life. Whereas some people actually do, but it's so easy to find excuses and reasons not to. And the most common ones I hear are like, oh, but I don't have a remote job. The thing is, if you want to get a remote job, you can. There are so many companies that offer remote jobs. But also, you can start your own business. And then so many people say, but I don't have any skills to start a business. What would I start a business in? And I honestly think that most people have something they can create a business within. I think you do have skills that you can leverage and turn that into a business. Maybe you just don't know how yet. And that's okay. But I really think you can. Because if you never thought about it that way, it can be hard to see how you can do it. And if you feel like you honestly don't have the skills that you need, or you don't know how you can turn your skills into a business, you can always learn new skills. The thing is, there are options to do this. Of course, we all have different circumstances. Everyone do not have the same privileges or the same life that they can uproot everything and leave. But you can make a decision to start a business if you really, really want to. You can find a way. I truly believe that. And people will say, oh, but I have my apartment. I have a lease. If you really want to, you can sublet it. And I know it's always not like simple black and white, just go ahead and leave. I know that. I'm very aware of that. And of course, there are circumstances that might make it harder for you to leave, like financial or your family situation or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, if you want to make it work, a lot of the times there is a way for you to make it work, but you have to make the decision to make it happen. Because a lot of the time I feel like we are so scared of trying something new. We're like, oh, that life looks amazing, but that's just for them. Or I couldn't do that. But why can't you do that? Is that actually true? Or are you just saying that because you don't know how to? Because the people who are living the life that you want to live, they didn't just wake up one day and it was all there for them. Everyone has made sacrifices, and especially everyone has gone through their fears to do it. Because trust me, I've been so scared when doing this, when starting to know my life, when starting a business. I haven't thought it was easy. I've just decided to do it anyway. So if you want to live a nomad life, I want you to know that it is possible, but you have to make an active decision to make it happen. But also that brings it back to that nomad life isn't necessarily what you see on Instagram. Because my life as a nomad is very much a routine life. And I didn't think I would, but I have kind of fallen in love with my routine life. I wake up and have breakfast. I go to the gym. I go home and I work for a bit. I might go to a cafe or a co-working to work. But the thing is that nomad life is very much a routine life for me. And I think it is for many nomads. It isn't just all fun and games and the travel Insta reel. It is very much the same routines that I would do back home. I would wake up, I would work out, I will sit down and do some work, and I will go for lunch, I will work again, and I will have dinner, and I will go to bed at a decent hour. So I'm doing the same things that I would do back home. But the thing is, even though I have a routine that I'm sometimes like, wow, this is just a boring routine life, the glimmers in my day-to-day life as a nomad is what makes it so amazing. Because back home, I would just literally do those things by myself. Whereas here, I would then go work at a Q cafe instead of sitting at home the whole day. I would go to a lunch with a friend, or I would try a new coffee place during the day, and I will meet up a bunch of nomads I never met for dinner. And I think that is mostly what differentiates it. It is very much a day-to-day life, but the day-to-day life is just so much more exciting to me and so much more fulfilling, especially because I get to spend it with people compared to back home, where I find that life is so much more isolated. And here, the community and the people you meet, but also as a nomad, when you tend to go to places where you can live a better lifestyle for a cheaper price, usually, you can also do other things. And that is extremely privileged to be able to do that. But to be able to go out and eat more and do more activities that maybe you wouldn't do back home is possible in many of the nomad destinations. And that is the part that I love about it, that it is the day-to-day life, it is the routine life, and you get into that, but you get to do it with so many highlights throughout the day. Even if it sometimes just feels like an ordinary day-to-day life, it is still in sunshine and it is still around amazing people. So if you feel like, Jess, I do want to try nomad life, but I don't really know how to get started, but this lifestyle is something I actually want, we will talk about that. We will talk about partly how to do things even though you are scared. We will talk about what you can do to leverage the skills you have if you want to start a business and work online. And we will also talk about how you make friends as a nomad, what destinations to go to, what you think about when you choose where to go as a nomad. So if you feel like, yes, this is for me, this is what I want to do, then subscribe and follow because we will get into it more. So thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I will see you next week.